So I was just going to launch right into the story. And then I realized that at least some of you who will stumble across this video don't really have any idea who I am, so I thought I should start with a little bit of an introduction. My name's Sarah. I'm 31 years old, and last month I quit a full-time job that paid reasonably well, had benefits, had RSPs and other investment opportunities in a field that I love in order to go back to school. Sounds crazy. Maybe it is crazy. We'll see. Too late to turn back that page now. It all started last year. I think it was October. I was at a cafe with my friend Erin and was talking about how I need to get out of the city. I live in a small Canadian city. Well, for Canada, it's actually a pretty large city. It's a small city in Canada. But despite the city that I live in on a global scale being really not much more than a very large small town, I still needed to get out. I needed to get back to the mountains. I needed to get somewhere where you can walk down the road to the lake instead of driving several hours to a lake that's any bigger than a large duck pond. I needed to detox, to be somewhere when you get home from work, you have time to go for a walk. You have time to enjoy things. You have time. Right now, it takes me anywhere upwards of 40 minutes to get to work. It can easily be an hour if traffic's bad, and the same distance home. And I don't live that far away. I can walk to work in under an hour. But even if I walk to work to guarantee the amount of time that it takes me, that's still almost 2 hours of my day gone just in commuting. And I don't want to deal with that anymore, at least not right now. So I'm talking to my friend Erin about how I want to get out of the city, and she asks the obvious question, that being, what would I do for work? And I tossed a few things around, mainly things I didn't want to do. I don't want to work at the local restaurant. I don't want to work at the local supermarket. I don't want to work at the local hardware store. I want to just have a job. As much as I want to get out, get back to the mountains, get back to all these things that I've idealized over the years of being away from them, that's not enough to make life feel worthwhile. So what am I going to do for work? Right now, I work in theater. It's great. In the city, there's enough to make a living here. In a small town, unless you're the local drama teacher, there's really nothing. Nothing that pays anyway, nothing that you can depend on. And at some point during our dinner at the cafe, I threw out, I don't know, maybe teach. And at the time, it was just an idea. It was just something off the top of my head that I could see myself doing, maybe not getting entirely bored with. But then as the weeks went on and I started really thinking about it, I realized, yeah, you know what? That's something I've always wanted to do. I could think back to being in elementary school. When I was in grade 5, we had reading buddies who were in grade 2. And every week, maybe twice a week, I don't remember details, we'd walk down the hall to the primary wing and we'd meet up with our reading buddy who would have picked a book and we'd read them the book. And I remember thinking, second graders are cool. They like learning. This is great. Their teachers have the best job in the world. Meanwhile, I'm a jaded 10-year-old, right? And the idea sat there in the back of my head all through high school, all through my early adulthood. And yet it was never really something I let myself entertain, which is odd because I went into theater, which is usually not what people do when they're thinking practically. I'm not sure exactly what it was that made me discount teaching as a possible career choice, aside from maybe the idea that it seemed too much like a real job, and for all the things that theater is, a real job, it isn't. So that's how it all started. What began as a seed, as an idea in a cafe, over the next few months began to come together into what appeared to be starting to become a plan. I started looking into programs offered at a couple of local universities and soon discovered that one of the universities offered the program that I wanted in a small town campus, not on the lake, but really close to a lake that we used to camp at when I was a child and on the river. So I flew out to the town in February to check out the campus and to visit my grandparents, who only live an hour and a half away from there. I spent a week and a bit with them and with my aunt and uncle, and got to see the town and the campus and check out their little community center. And as much as it is a very small town, it's also exactly what I want right now. In a perfect world, I would already have moved. I'd be settled into the new town. I'd be going to the campus out there. But this isn't a perfect world. When I initially told my boss that I was leaving and going back to school, I agreed to stay on until the end of July. At the time, it made all kinds of sense. The money was decent, and the work in the summertime is easy, and why wouldn't I stick around? And in retrospect, since I'm trying to avoid student loans as much as possible and pay for things outright, I think probably this isn't a decision that I will regret. But what it means in the short term is that I was looking at quitting my job, moving, settling into a new town, and starting school all within a month of each other, and it was just too much. So I dropped the moving off the plate. Everything else is as it is, but I'm staying in the place that I've lived at for the last several years. I can freelance in town rather than trying to find a part-time job somewhere. And I'm going to a local community college for now. The plan now is probably going to involve heading out May or June. Don't have all the details worked together. I'd like to get out to the new town early enough to try to find a job before all the other college kids move in and snap up all the part-time jobs. We'll see how that goes. And so I've decided to record this journey that I'm taking, to make a video log that I can look back on in 2 or 10 or 20 years when the memories of what this was like are hazy, and I want to remember what it was like going back to school, what it was like going through this teaching program that I have no idea what to expect, what it was like my first day in front of a class of eager second graders or out of control second graders or who knows. I don't know what's around the corner. I may look back on these early videos and laugh at my optimism. Um, I'm looking ahead into the future right now and coming up with all kinds of crazy out there horror fantasies of what the first days are going to be like, of how I'm not going to be able to get into the swing of studying and note-taking and schoolwork again. I think it's just the school's a week and a half away jitters. I'm sure it'll all settle down once I'm actually in class. I'll know in a week and a half because on September the 7th at 8:30 in the morning, I'm walking into my history class and sitting down with my notebook and pens and hoping for the best. I'll definitely update after that. I'll have at least one video that I want to do between now and then, probably more. I'm not sure if my past experience with blogging and message boards is any indication. There will probably be many videos within a short period of time, followed by months and months of silence, or maybe an occasional video saying, I'm still alive, I just don't have time. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm pretty easygoing with this right now, which for any of you who know me is extremely out of character for me. I've decided to just get in this boat and see which way the wind blows and just have faith that I'm going to come out fine on the other side. So that's where I am now. I will continue to update things as the situation changes.